recording, so if anybody wants to sign in, please go to the chat box and do so. Well, welcome everybody. Hi, Vern. How are you?
I'm good. Good. I'll leave you alone there. I know you're busy.
Oh, it's okay. I'm a multitasker.
Yeah, I know you said that. That's good. That's a nice talent to have.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets a little distracting. Hello, Donna.
Hello.
Is Gary with you today?
You will be.
Okay.
Who's asking these questions?
Barb wants to know.
Hi, Barb.
Hey, how are you?
I'm here.
Hi, Bob.
Let's see.
How do I get to? Do I go to chat or?
Yeah, you go to chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you like turn the message there.
I don't
Yay, Rachel Stewart is here. So Rachel, I will introduce her later on, but Rachel is a good friend of mine from the Tibby College of Business. And Phil, she is a curling fan, and that is why she is attending today. So.
Cool.
I like her already.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
Hey, Barb. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Is your lovely wife going to join us today?
I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
Okay.
But first, I have to do my attendance. I got to do what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, you guys are getting so well trained, I tell you. All I have to do is say it 50,000 times, and like you're all doing it. You're all going to the chat, entering your names.
Hi, Jeff Stone.
That's Pete Wallace.
Hi, Pete.
Now, if some of you want, I can always leave this meeting going for a little while afterwards. If you want to like just see each other and say hello, I can always do that. So.
Why don't you click on the chat to sign in?
Oh my God, there's even more people. Oh no. Anna, Can we see your shoes?
Oh my, oh gosh. I mean, yes, but can you keep a secret?
Next time, what?
I mean,
House
here.
slippers?
They look like this.
Oh, oh. They're the gold
They're-
ones, the ruby red slippers.
They are red slippers. And I have had, oh gosh, a version of these slippers for probably 15 years now. And fortunately, I'm married to Jeff Stone, who just will like buy me a new pair when these are worn out, because they cost an unspeakable amount of money. And when I told Jeff, he was like, I'm sorry, what? But I was like, but I wear them every day. And now since, coronavirus, I wear them all day.
Will they get you back to Kansas?
I hope so.
Well, welcome everybody. Just a reminder, please go into the chat box and put in your attendance. Much appreciated. I know that Jim Connor will be joining us kind of right on the hour. So, so you get to listen to me annoy you until that time.
Name wrong. Mustaine.
Now from the comfort of home.
When under pressure, how did Teresa Greenfield react? The company she helped lead defaulted on loans and laid off workers. Then, as a
Barb, I need to sign in.
Okay, Carlin. Have you ever found that chat box yet?
Yeah,
Nothing comes up.
nothing comes up with
Nothing
it.
comes up. Well, then I've got you covered. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to put your name in. So.
Good. Is there anything else I need to do?
Nope. Just smile and be welcoming and friendly.
All right. I can do much of that. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Huh?
Welcome, everybody. Please remember to go into the chat box and enter your attendance. And once you do so, it would be helpful if you would mute your microphone.
I missed the news conference.
Yeah, there wasn't too much.
Good morning, everybody. I know that our president, Jim Connor, will be here in just a moment or two, and we'll start the meeting once he does join us. But in the meantime, this is my chance to remind you to go to the chat box at the bottom, click on it, and a little window will open, and please enter your name. And for a number of you, I've gone ahead and muted your microphone. And when it comes time for us to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, which we do at the beginning of every meeting, I will unmute all of your microphones. And after that, I'll mute you again. And Jim Connor, who I see has joined us, will unmute his own microphone to start the meeting.
Disproportionate disease and death rates in minorities.
All right, Barb, can you hear me?
I can. You're good.
Wonderful. See, it's 12:02, just turned 12:02. Should we wait one more minute and we'll begin at our usual about 3 minutes?
Confirmed cases and deaths. And we also know there's a disproportionate.
You're welcome. Okay, just a reminder for everyone, please go to the chat box and enter your name. If you have not been with us before and you're on a computer, the chat box would be on the bottom screen. And you would click on that and a little window would open up and you could type your name in, press enter, and then that way I will know that you are attending our meeting.
Barb, I see our participation numbers are great again this week. We're up over 60, so this is wonderful. Appreciate everyone's joining us. Oh, it looks like it just hit 12:03. So as we typically do each week, if you are able, please join me and we'll stand to begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated.
So Jim, please unmute or
Such great participation again today. And I see some of the familiar names. We have a lot of folks that have joined us for a number of these Zoom meetings. As I mentioned towards the beginning of each of our past couple meetings, we are just so delighted with how much participation we get on these meetings, but we obviously miss seeing everyone and having the fellowship that we normally have with our in-person meetings. But your board is working on the future plans and having some options for people, and more to come on that. So as soon as we are able to share some of our decisions and methods of eventually getting folks back together, we'll be right on top of communicating that to you. And if any experts are joining us on this Zoom, we appreciate input and advice from anyone at any time. So looking forward to that. Barb, like we said last week, we're becoming Zoom experts, but there's always a tip or two that you can share with us. So please go ahead and give us a couple of Zoom tips.
Sure, happy to do so. So just a reminder to everyone that if you can, please go to the chat box. And for many of you that are on a computer, the chat would be on the bottom bar. Click on that and enter your name. You just type it in, press enter, and then that way it will go into the list and we'll know that you've attended. Now, if you are on a computer, at your top right, there is a button that will say either speaker view or gallery view. And when you're on gallery view, you will see all these great little pictures of all your fellow Rotarians. However, when it comes to announcements and the time for our actual speaker, we recommend that you go to speaker view because then you'll just see a larger image of our speaker. In addition, at the bottom, you should see a button that says participants. And so if you click on that, there is a button there that says raise hand. So if you have a visitor or if you have announcements or a question for our speaker, you can actually go into that section and click raise hand, and then I will call on you. So thanks. I think that's it. Back to you, Jim.
Wonderful. Thank you, Barb. All right. Well, next, I would like to hear from any guests or visiting Rotarians or Iowa City Noon Rotary alumni, I guess. So we've got some folks that have been past members but have moved on to other communities. If you are a guest or a visiting Rotarian or an alumnus of this group, please, if you can, click the raise hand button, like Barb said, and Barb will recognize you in the order that she's able. And then once we've recognized the folks that are able to raise their hand, we'll leave some time too if you aren't comfortable or familiar with the raise hand button. But Barb, do we have any visiting Rotarians or guests that have their hands raised?
Yeah, actually, I will start first in that I do have a guest. So my guest is Rachel Stewart. Rachel is a coworker of mine from the Tippie College of Business, and she is a curling fan. So Rachel, would you like to unmute your microphone and just say a quick hello?
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Great. Thanks. And next, I'm going to go to Dan Kenzie.
Let's get myself unmuted. All right. Hello, everybody. Dan Kenzie here. I got a little cough on me. I have a guest as well. Stephanie is the new executive director for the Friends of the Animal Center Foundation, so I'll let her introduce herself. I'm going to guess that her name is Kaylor. That's kind of how I would pronounce it. Nice. Good job, Dan. But I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I can't believe you got my last name right. That's not a good one. Thanks. I am from Washington, Iowa originally, so I'm from the area, and I'm really excited to meet everyone and to be part of the Rotary team.
Great, Stephanie. Well, welcome. Dan, thanks for having Stephanie join us. Stephanie, welcome to our meeting. And if you think today's meeting's fun, wait till we can actually all meet in person. We have some great meetings, but seriously, glad you could join us, and welcome.
Next, we have Hazel Seba.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be visiting. I'm from the Iowa City AM Club.
Welcome, Hazel.
Welcome, Hazel. And then next, John Colshaw has a guest.
Hi, Barb and everyone. Thanks so much. My guest today is also a visiting Rotarian. Jim Williams is the Dean of Libraries Emeritus at the University of Colorado Boulder. Jim's my longtime mentor and friend. And last week, I had the pleasure to join him at the Boulder, Colorado Rotary Club. So glad to have Jim here with us today. Welcome.
Neat. Welcome, Jim.
Jim, would you like to say hello?
Thank you, John.
Wonderful. Welcome. And then Gary Pasha has a guest.
I'm Gary's wife, Nancy, and I belong to the Iowa City AM Club.
Welcome, Nancy.
Welcome.
And I believe that may be it. Anybody else have a guest that they would like to introduce?
Okay. Well, thank you, Barb. Welcome to all of our guests and visiting Rotarians. Next, we like to begin our meetings with what we are calling a Rotary moment of positivity and gratitude. There's so many unusual things going on out there. We have found over the past few weeks of having these meetings that this little part of our agenda is always fun and unique and much appreciated. And today we've got to give us our moment of Rotary positivity and gratitude. We will hear from Anna Moyers Stone. Anna, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, hi. I have my husband here today. He'll be featured in a moment, much to our speaker's chagrin. But I also get to do our special moment today. And it reminded me that at the beginning of each year, my husband and I we don't do like New Year's resolutions, but we talk about kind of like what our goals are for the year. And we had two goals, which is one, spend, more family time together. And two, kind of, get to those home projects, spend more time at home and get to some of those projects that we never get to. And lo and behold, here we are with plenty of family time and plenty of time in our house to get to those projects. So the good thing that we found with all the family time is that my daughter plays a game in one of her dance classes called Rose, Thorn, and Bud. And the rose is something good that happened that day. The thorn is something bad. And then the bud is something that you're looking forward to. So the nice part about our family time is that, we have all of our meals together. So at least at dinner time, we try to do rose, thorn, and bud. And sometimes it's okay not to have a thorn. But I have found that there are some times during the day where I think, God, do I have a bud yet? And then if you don't have a bud, a nice thing to think is that you just do something nice for someone else. And so sometimes I've found I just, write a quick note before dinner time, or I make one more phone call, or I, empty the dishwasher, even though I wish Jeff would do it. So sometimes, when it's approaching dinner time and I know rose, thorn, and bud are going to happen, I think, what's my rose? And then if I can't quite think of something, then I try to take a few moments to do something nice for someone else. So that is my suggestion: rose, thorn, and bud. It's okay if you can't think of a thorn, but the rose is always nice.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anna. And thank you,
Yeah.
Jeff, for being with us too. Appreciate it. What a great analogy for our club and our current situation. You know, the attendance that we've had at these Zoom meetings have turned into quite a rose for us, but the thorn is obviously, it's just not the same. But the bud is, we're working on it, and maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Thanks again, Anna. I really appreciate it. All right. Well, next, let's get into announcements. If you have a Rotary related announcement, please click on your raise hand symbol, and we would like to hear from you about your announcement. So I'll turn it over to Barb to help us get to our Rotary related announcements.
Well, I see that Linda Farkas has an announcement. Linda?
As you all know, can you hear me, Barb?
Yep.
I don't see me on the screen. Okay. As you all know, Riley was canceled this year, so we have no students, of course, going. And World Affairs, while it was canceled online, has gone, they provided the opportunity to do virtual attendance. And for what, this was me at the beginning saying, oh, I don't think there'll be anybody interested. Well, to our surprise, and through a lot of hard work with people working in our schools, we have 13 students going from the Iowa City area. We have 7 going from our club. So I think that's a success. And I am going to give a shout out to Nancy Pasha, and thank you, Nancy, because you're on the line, and Mark Ruckeberg, and Heather and Sarah, Heather Krosky and Sarah Richardson, because this has been a ton of work to sort of stop everything and start it again. We thought it would be simple, but there was a lot of pieces to put together. So thanks everybody, and there'll be more updates on next year.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks.
That is great news. What a great program. So next, actually, just a reminder, if you have an announcement, go to the bottom to the participant button to raise your hand. But I do actually have 2 announcements. So first, you all received an email from me yesterday with your membership information. And so I want to make sure that you saw that and that you go out and log into Club Runner and update any information that you have, your home address, especially phone number, emails, etc. If you need help with it, let me know. Second, I want to let you know that we are kind of revamping our membership committee, and you have the opportunity to get involved. So what we're doing with membership is we're really kind of focusing on it in 3 main ways, okay? It's recruiting new members, it's engaging our newer members, and then it's retaining our current members. And our hope is that we can recruit a good-sized committee so that everybody can kind of participate in this process, because many hands make for light work. So as we go forward, we do have several co-chairs of the committee, and I would like to call on each of them to just say briefly in like 1 sentence why they're involved. This way, when they speak, you'll be able to see their faces and you'll know who's working on this effort. If you are interested and willing in helping us drive membership at our club, please reach out to any of us. So first off, I'd like to call on Rebecca Needs.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and happy pre-Memorial Day weekend. I hope you have great plans to be outside, except for the rain, so bring your umbrella. I am so excited about this committee. We are a lot of fun, so think about joining us. But during COVID is a time we've all been disconnected from others. And, you know, we try and Zoom and do this and that. But I've really found that this is a time where a lot of people need this connection more than ever. And it's the perfect time to recruit for Rotary. So if you find yourself with a little extra time on your hands during this shutdown or working remotely, we would love to have you, even if it's not for the long haul. If you can generate ideas, if you can help create a few materials, etc. We welcome you, and for as much time or as little time as you have to offer, we'll take it.
That's great. Thank you, Rebecca. Next, David Spanier.
Yeah, hey everybody, it's great to see all of your faces. Barb sent us some information on age demographics and retention numbers, and I thought I really got to get my butt in gear because I realized I'm in an age category all to myself. So I discovered I'm the youngest one here by several years. And as Barb mentioned, we've got 3 different sort of focuses, and one of those is engaging and bringing new members in. And so I think there's going to be plenty of work on all 3 of those areas, and we're certainly looking for more help. But I'm just really excited about bringing in some new faces, and if that gets you excited, let us know.
That's great. Thanks, David. And Dan Kinsey.
There we go. I got it figured out again. Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited. I've been now a Rotarian for 3 years, and being able to be involved with RILA and World Affairs, and all those types of just unique experiences makes me want to just give that to the rest of the community, to let more people come in and experience what Rotary is like, and gain some of the cool relationships that I've been able to build over these last 3 years. So that's what gets me jacked up, and I'm hoping that more of you can join us and spread the Rotarian word to the rest of us.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dan. And then lastly, to our president-elect nominee, Eric Weiler.
Sure. Thank you, Barb. Just want to encourage everyone to think about what Rotary means to your life and the impact that we as Rotarians make on our community and the world, and how we'd love your help, not just recruiting new Rotarians, getting more people in the community to join us, but also after we get new members, making sure we engage them in a meaningful way. We'd love to have your help with this membership committee.
That is great. Thanks all. So you've seen us. We're all involved, and we would like to get you involved. So you can reach out to any of us and help us out in any way. It might be with recruitment. It might be with reaching out to people who haven't been able to join our meetings and kind of helping talk them through it. But we would love your help. So please reach out to us. And then next, I think that Tricia Smith is with us and does have something that she would like to share.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're excited again to share some more news about our Rotary Meal Delivery Program. So to steal a little bit from Anna there, this has definitely been a rose in our week. We've delivered to 2 different sites this week. On Monday, we traveled to Shelter House and did our second delivery there of 75 boxed meals from the Marriott in Coralville. And then just yesterday, we traveled to the VA for our second delivery there. And Jim brought friends, which was fantastic. And so with his help and as well as his coworkers, we were able to bring 75 meals again to the VA hospital. It's really been a joy to be a part of this initiative from our Rotary group. I can't tell you the appreciation or the amount of that we get each week from the recipients. It's just amazing. Jim, did you have any comments that you wanted to share from your experience?
I do. I'm just so proud of the cooperation between Rotary and United Way in this effort. And yesterday, I guess it was no surprise that everything was so well organized. All our group had to do was show up, load up the lunches. They were already there on time, ready to go. And the same, when we got to the VA hospital, those folks were expecting us, excited to see us. They had equipment there to help load the lunches in so that their staff could eat those. But Tricia, thanks for your leadership and organization of this effort. It's great for Rotary and a nice partnership with United Way.
Thank you so much, Jim. I thoroughly enjoy it as both of my roles with United Way as well as a Rotarian. It's just absolutely fantastic.
That is great. Okay, I think that might be all of our announcements. So Jim, back to you. A reminder to everybody, go to the speaker view so that you can see a large image of our speakers.
Very good. And I just would add one announcement. We've learned that by starting our Zoom meetings at 12:03 rather than our traditional 12:10 start time of our in-person meetings, that we should utilize that 7 minutes for something. Now, we've been ending every day right at 1 o'clock, but some of our speaker segments are a little bit longer. I think we'd like to use that 7 minutes for another agenda item, and we're going to use it for committee updates. So in this period of time where we can't do as much and our committees in some ways can't be as active, we think as a club that it's important to hear, for example, what is going on in Ecotepec? Is there added need there? Are we still as involved there? Or what's the latest interaction between the district and the folks in Ecotepec? Or we heard today from Linda about RILA, for example, a great update, but we want to be intentional about hearing from some of our committees as to what the status is of their work. In some instances, it'll be on hold and on pause, and that's a concern. In other instances, there'll be opportunities for us to do things that maybe we hadn't thought of if we weren't intentional about providing updates to the full membership. So if you are a committee chair or a volunteer, for example, in some of our international efforts, or have some information on what some of our committees are doing, please feel free to reach out to myself or Barb or any board member and say you would like to give an update at one of our upcoming meetings, and we'll get you on the agenda. All right, Barb, we miss anything? Any other announcements or any other business before we get into our speaker?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay, great. Devin Von Holstein, I'll turn it over to you.
Actually, I think Devin is not here today, but our introduction is going to be done by the fabulous Miss Anna Moyers Stone. Anna.
Why, thank you.
My apologies.
I know, Devin asked me to introduce today's speaker, who is Phil Burian. And I said, Devin, I know Phil as a dance dad. I know Phil is a great guy. I know Phil as an attorney, but I don't know Phil Burian as athlete. Fortunately, my husband is Phil's law partner, so I invited Jeff here today to do the introduction. Jeff?
Thank you. With great pride, I'm here to introduce Phil Burian. Phil is a proud graduate of Regina High School, and he practices law now at Simmons, Perrine, Moyer, and Bergman in Cedar Rapids with me. One of my favorite characteristics of Phil is that when he's devoted to something, he's truly 100% devoted to something. That includes his practice of law. He is an exceptional attorney. That also includes raising chickens. He has the nicest chicken coop in Lynn County, and he has the freshest eggs in the Bruce Moore neighborhood. And it also includes curling. If we can show the photograph now, Phil is so dedicated to curling that I thought he made a Zamboni, but I was incorrect. He explained to me he actually fabricated his own ice scraper so that when he's out there curling, the ice is nice and level. And this is a photograph of the ice scraper that Phil made. Phil has traveled around the country to compete in curling competitions, and he's also been very dedicated to growing the game locally here in the corridor. So with that, Phil Burian, please take it away.
Thanks for that, Jeff. That was not as harsh as I expected it to be. Okay, first of all, thanks very much everyone for having me here. I really do appreciate the opportunity to share some information about the sport. What I'd like to do is spend a few minutes giving you the history and kind of the basics of the sport, talk to you about where curling is today in the corridor, and then finish up with where I hope it goes in the next couple years. See if I can get going here. So curling began in Scotland in the mid-1500s. On the upper left there is an actual curling stone that they excavated out of some kind of site. It moved from Scotland to Canada and then made its way down to the United States. The first curling clubs started appearing in the United States in about the mid-1800s. And they were playing on frozen ponds, flooded sheds, and any place they could find ice. Today, it's exploding. Obviously, when you make The Simpsons, you know you're somebody. The U.S. gold medal in the last Olympic cycle was huge. The morning that happened, our website crashed because everybody just had an extreme amount of interest in it. There's an annual event each year in Las Vegas. That's the Orleans casino there in the lower left-hand corner. Every year they have a international event that's usually sold out before it ever starts. So what's the deal with curling? Why do I like it so much? The first one is as much exercise as you want to make it. I have played in games where a beer left my hand for 2 or 3 seconds at a time. I've also played in competitive tournaments where we had trainers and it was just an exhausting 3 or 4 day event. And really anywhere on that continuum you want to make it is where you can be. It's a social sport. It depends on in-person contact. Obviously, COVID-19 has affected us as much as anybody. Happily, we aren't taking as much of a financial impact as I know some people are, but it really does depend on that in-person relationship building on the ice. And related to that, there's a culture of sportsmanship and civility. The sport insists on being dignified to your opponents. You call your own fouls, you celebrate the other team's good shots. And I got to tell you, after 8-10 hours of working in a law practice and litigation, it's kind of nice to go on the ice and just have kindness rule the day. It's a team sport. Teams got to communicate. I'll explain why in a minute, but if you can't communicate or if you're not getting along, you will lose, guaranteed. And obviously there's fanatic membership. I tried it once 6 years ago, just to kind of a joke to get a photo op on the ice, and I've been hooked ever since. Another reason I like it, of course, is just fun. I thought I would have gone my whole life without seeing dinosaurs curl. That was a Halloween tournament that I went to in Wisconsin. In the lower right-hand corner is a tradition where the Winter Carnival King and Queen come to a curling tournament, and we have this big ceremony where they come in and they knight someone every year. And it's just truly a lot of fun. This is, on the screen right now, is the day that I fell in love with the sport. Because on top of all those other qualities that I just mentioned, the sport's inclusive. This picture was taken after a game I played, and those are the 2 teams there. And if you look through the demographic, I won't read them all, I know you can see them there. That really is the range of physical abilities and the range of backgrounds that someone can come from and participate in the sport and be on a level playing field. On that day, I played some 3 Paralympians, and they had their 12-year-old daughter with them. We had a great game. We played out on the ice for 2 hours, and then for the rest of the evening, we sat and had dinner and just enjoyed a good night of getting to know them. And I just don't know of how many other sports that happens on a regular basis. It's easy to play, hard to master. Typically, let's see if I can get my, ordinarily I got a laser on the broom that you throw with, but if you're just starting out, we have stabilizers that we use. If you can't get down on the ice, down low in the lunge position, we do have delivery devices. One of my favorite stories that I won't burden you the long version with is I played against a team in Minnesota. They had 4 generations. It was a great-grandson to great-grandfather. They beat the tar out of us. And the great-grandfather had one of those delivery sticks and was just lethal with it. He never missed a shot. Obviously, wheelchair curling is something we want to develop. This winter, I had started a conversation with the VA hospital about trying to develop a veterans program, get a veterans league going, and disabled veterans. We were starting to gain traction, and of course, March came for us like it did for everybody else. This young girl here in the middle, the stone, which weighs 42 pounds, weighed more than her. And she wasn't able to just physically push the stone all the way down the ice. So we made a little kind of like a ladies' tee or a handicap tee for golf, where basically we move the hack, the starting block that we push out of, we move that down the sheet so that she could get a fair start, have a fighting chance, and she curled with her dad in the same games as adults. And then obviously there are some high performance athletes that play as well. The other great thing about the sport is there's no equipment that's needed. I've talked about the delivery aids if you are unstable. Anna, they do make curling shoes in red if you're so inclined. Good curling shoes, you got to pay about $150. And because, you know, like golf, if you spend money on a sport, maybe you'll get better. I've tested that many times. It is not true. But curling shoes have a Teflon slider foot. It's very slippery. I've also learned that when that's in your carry-on luggage, TSA has a very strong interest in why your shoes are not the same. And I've learned to always check my curling shoes now when I travel. The other shoe that I come up that is a rubber-based, just a standard rubber, and that's what you push out of the hack on. Most of the people at my level, they put like a gripper, or it's kind of like a galosh that they put over the slippery part of the shoe. And that basically helps you walk on the ice safely. If you watch it on TV, those guys have been curling since they were 4, and they just fly around on the slider like they don't even know it's there. But if you're just starting out, we do have temporary sliders that you can put on to step on with the tennis shoe and play. Also, most clubs, all clubs have lender brooms that you can start out with. But then, of course, as you get going in the sport and you want to improve yourself, you can spend anywhere between $50 to $300 on a curling broom. The curling heads are actually regulated at competitive level now because they've used so many fabrics and experimented with how they interact with the ice that it was becoming unfair. People were actually able to make their broom more effective than we wanted them to be. A standard curling sheet is 138 feet long from hack to hack. The hack's the starting block thing that you push out of. 37 feet away from the hack is what's called the hog line. You have to let go of the stone while you're sliding out before you cross the hog line. If you hold on to it when you cross that hog line, it'll be a foul and you have to take the stone out of play. And then on the far hog line, it has to cross that one to be in play and eligible to score. You may wonder if you're watching it on TV, a lot of times they will leave stones up in front of the house, for example, right there, and everyone's clapping because that's a great shot. Well, the reason that's a great shot is because it's in the free guard zone, this gray area that I have here. And for the first 5 stones that are thrown in each end, it ends like an inning in baseball, the other team can't hit those stones out. So what they'll do is they'll pack up a bunch of stones up in front at the beginning of an end, and then they'll start using those stones strategically to either raise them, push them into the house, or sneak in and curl behind them. And then the house itself, the target, is 12 feet across. There's 4 players in standard curling. There's a person throwing, 2 people sweeping, and then the skip is the person calling the game. He will holds the broom, which is the target I'm going to mention in a minute. They rotate all the way through. So basically, people always ask me, what position do I play? The answer is all 3 positions. I throw, I hold broom to target, and I also sweep. The ice itself has what's called pebbling on it. By the way, that's a hack up there, close-up hack in the upper left-hand corner. We've used these pebble cans that's down in the lower right to spritz water pebbles on the ice to make it like kind of an orange peel or rough surface. What that does is it reduces surface friction and allows the stones to travel much farther, and it also allows them to curl more, and it allows the brooms to interact with the ice a lot better. And so that's a real special skill. It's an art. And one thing I want to, putting that water down's an art. One thing I wanted to just draw your attention to is if you look at the ice in this picture, look how clear and transparent it is except for the glare. And I'll bring you back to that observation here in just a minute. So what's all the shouting about? It's called curling because the stone actually curves as it goes down the ice. They will aim with the skip, the person holding the broom, that's where the thrower is aiming to start with, but that's not where they want the stone to go. Depending on which direction the stone is turning, it'll actually curl in behind other stones. And so the reason everyone's yelling at each other is they're sighting up that stone. They're seeing what's it doing as it's moving through, and they're communicating to the sweepers whether they should be on it, sweeping hard, or getting off it and letting it do its thing. What sweeping does is it, just for a split second, warms the ice, turns into just a little tiny layer of slush right in front of that stone. It causes it to go further and straighter. So if it's doing what they want and they want it to curve in, they're going to get off it and let it go. If they want to hold that stone straight, or if they want to make that stone go farther, they're going to sweep the daylights out of it. The sport is scored like bocce ball, similar to bocce ball. Basically, at the end of an inning, each team throws 8 stones each. They all rotate through, and then after all 16 stones are thrown, the players score the end. It's basically whoever has the greatest number of their stones closest to the center of the house, they score. So here, that's a 1 point for red, and then there's 3 yellow here. And then even though there's a lot of yellow stones in here, red's still scoring 1 point because they're just barely closer than everyone else. And then I'm not going to get into why you would blank an end. There's a lot of strategic reasons why you would intentionally not want to score. That's kind of a 102, curling 102 issue. Scoreboards are kind of confusing. A competition scoreboard like you'd see on TV, it's basically like a baseball scoreboard. The middle line is which end it is, and they usually go 1 through 10, and that's a 10 end game, excuse me, is a standard Olympic or national game length. And the numbers above and below are what points were scored in that end. So it's just like a baseball scoreboard. Clubs, on the other hand, they usually use a very confusing system. The middle line here is actually the score of the game. And the numbers on the top and bottom are when the team scored that total number of points. So in this game, on the bottom here, the red team scored 2 points in the first end and then scored 1 more point in the third end, which is the same result as the baseball-like scoreboard up in national competitions. The reason the scoreboards are so wonky like that is because players will score their own games. They can quickly put the score up, and also clubs don't have to have a pile of 1s and 0s around to fill up the board like they do on TV. If you did not understand that, don't worry. You basically have to play a game to really understand how club scoreboards work. Quick shout out to our ladies team. Last year, our ladies won what translates to about 3rd place in the U.S. Arena Curling National Championships out in Philadelphia. We're so proud of them. The Arena National Curling Championships, I've curled in twice. It's a very different thing than what's coming here and hopefully coming here in Cedar Rapids next fall. We are thrilled to be hosting the 2021 U.S. Curling National Championships here in Cedar Rapids. In 2015, we hosted the Arena National Championships, and what those are is basically it's kind of like the Bush League or junior high version of national curling, because people that curl on hockey ice are never going to get as good as someone who curls in a dedicated facility. They set up this own separate system for curling national championships for arena clubs, and in February of 2021, we're going to be bringing the real national championships, what I call. I can guarantee you that if these go, we will have the next Olympic team coming out of Cedar Rapids, that Cedar Rapids tournament. At this point, we're still planning on having it. There are certain contingencies in place right now, or putting them in place, but we're hoping that we're able to not only have the event go, but also have the event go with the crowd. It's basically the same calculus that most of the other crowd sports are going through right now. By the way, I should mention that when we held the 2015 Arena National Championships, we brought in about $90,000 to the areas, to the Cedar Rapids area, with teams traveling from out of state to stay for the week of that event. So that's kind of the quick rundown of what curling is. I'd like to talk to you about where curling is at right now in the corridor. We currently play at the Cedar Rapids Ice Arena on hockey ice, which is less than ideal. We are curling in Iowa though, so we're thrilled about that. One of the biggest problems is the ice has a tremendous amount of skate damage. This is what the ice looks like when we start playing. Oops, excuse me. We don't like the Zamboni. It creates irregularity. It makes bumps. It puts down all kinds of grease and water on the ice, or grease and impurities on the ice. And when you're trying to throw a 42-pound stone at a target that's 135 feet away, any little tiny variation in the ice is just going to wreak havoc on that stone. What we use, and what Jeff was showing you, is a scraper. That machine there is obviously store-bought and works a little better than mine, actually a lot better than mine. But that has a razor on it that shaves the ice by hand to really carve down and craft the ice. This is a map that we did before we did a couple of floods trying to level our ice. Imagine that's showing the variation of over 2 inches plus or minus. So basically a total of 4 inches difference at the Cedar Rapids Ice Arena on the Olympic side. We can mitigate that a little bit, but imagine trying to throw a stone accurately when you're on that tilted of a playing field. The water is very impure. Cedar Rapids has great water, but once you freeze it, all kinds of particulate and gunk just come up to the top because of the physics of it, and it's not an ideal playing surface. And then obviously we pay rent. Our rent right now is about $135 an hour. We compete with hockey events, and I hope I'm not going to step on any toes here, but I got to tell you, when you're fighting for ice time with hockey moms, you better bring a big stick, because I mean there's a lot of competition for ice time at the arena, especially after school hours when all the kids events are going on. So we don't have any ownership. We're just a tenant. We certainly have a great relationship with the ice arena. Eric Hudson, the new manager there, has been extraordinarily good at accommodating our needs and also helping us figure out what we're going to do with COVID-19 issues. But it's not our home. And then also it just isn't a very good place for socializing. And it's expensive, et cetera. So, is there a question? Okay, so real quick, and I know I'm running out of time here. I mentioned the term dedicated ice a couple times. Of the 188 clubs that are in the country, most of them have their own ice house. Nothing but curlers play on that ice. There's no skates on it. The environment is heavily controlled for humidity and obviously heat. And that's where national level players and international level players, they come out of facilities that look like this rather than hockey ice. We want to have one of these in the corridor. We think North Liberty would be the ideal spot. And we would like to work with other partners to maximize the bang for the buck on square footage. Curling events, or curling season, is from late fall, mid-fall to mid-spring. And so we'd have an enormous footprint that would be open in the summertime to use for other events. It could be, just to give you an idea of the scale, that's a regulation basketball court. That's what volleyball would look like there. Pickleball. That's deck hockey, not ice hockey. And then basically use your imagination on what else might be compatible with a facility like this. The second component of dedicated curling facility is the warm room. Remember I told you it's a social sport, and it's about building human relationships with each other. There has to be a place, the warm room used to be a cabin on the side of the ice, but now it's basically an eatery or some kind of place to gather around and have a beer next to the ice. Some people use surplus restaurant furniture to do it. Some of the older clubs in the country just have beautiful, gorgeous warm rooms. The one on the bottom there, that's Wausau. They have a huge one that they built their entire facility on a landfill, and it's just a gorgeous facility. And then the one in the upper left is in St. Paul, which is just a really nice place, and you just want to spend time there and hang out. And obviously that space could be used for other things besides curlers. The model that most are going to now, though, or many are going to now, is to actually partner with a restaurant or a food establishment. So the warm room itself is basically a bar and grill that is operational all year round for any open to the public. And then inside, the ice house is kind of like a amusement or something to watch while you're eating or having a beer. So why should curling grow in Cedar Rapids or in the corridor? Well, first of all, Cedar Rapids Curling is a 501c3. We are a nonprofit, and we've got a proven track record of doing some pretty neat things. It's just fun. There I am in some cow pants that's an Exmoor Curling Club in Illinois. We bring money to the area. Like I said, we bring people from south of Iowa City to Cedar Falls to curl on hockey ice in Cedar Rapids. And so that's all money coming in to this area from just a little bit outside. And then if things are open in August, we'll have our social tournament again. And that'll bring in teams from literally around the country that'll spend 2 nights and 3 days in Cedar Rapids for that event. We do corporate events. We do charity fundraising. So far, we've raised over $16,000 for United Way of East Central Iowa. The format of that is companies enter teams, and then they go and play for 3 or 4 hours in a mini tournament. It's a great event. It's a great way for companies to meet each other. That's a picture from the 2015 Arena Nationals that we hosted. We're very proud of how well that went, especially because we were so young at that time. Conference and tourism draws. We get calls all the time from people that are having, we have a great relationship with the Cedar Rapids Convention and Visitors Bureau. They'll often suggest to companies that are having events here to have a corporate event for curling. And they're constantly asking us if they can get out on our ice at a time that meets their schedule. Usually we can't meet their schedule because there's hockey events going on. I would love to get a youth program going in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Hockey is curling is a high school sport, just like football or basketball. There's no reason that can't be the case in Iowa as well. Then, of course, like I said, I'd love nothing better than to get a disabled veterans program going. And then, of course, we've got 3 colleges in the area, 3 or 4 colleges in the area. That would be an opportunity for Iowa to join another national level event. And then, like I said before, you can diversify facility use. We can be good neighbors, and we are very compatible with other activities, especially because we are based on that social interaction. So if you'd like to know more, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. We do, right now we're closed, of course, but we hope to be open this fall if we're able to do it safely. We do learn to curls, where you just come out and try it for an hour. We do company and group events where you come out, bring basically a whole company out and do it for like 2 or 3 hours basically, and maybe have some beer. Sometimes companies will combine it with like a board meeting or a dinner of some kind. We think there's a lot of opportunities for in the 2021 Nationals if that goes. We're very optimistic that it will. And then also, if you'd like to learn more about what a dedicated facility might look like in the corridor, I'd love to talk to you. We think North Liberty is the best place to be because that kind of grabs Cedar Rapids and Iowa City together. And I will just tell you that our trade name is Cedar Rapids Curling. We're technically Cedar Rapids Curling Club, but we've also registered the trade name of Corridor Curling because we hope that our reach is worthy of that name here, and hopefully in the next 10 years. So that's it. Thanks for letting me machine gun talk at you.
That's wonderful, Phil. Yeah, it's a very fun program, very exciting. Let's open up for questions. Who has a question for Phil? Try to use the raise hand button if you can. If you can't, just go ahead and ask your question.
So I will actually go first. Just a reminder that you can raise your hand from the participants button. But Phil, so you're in the Cedar Rapids ice rink and you're concerned about the quality of that ice, but yet you're going to hold nationals. What do you have to do extra to make sure that the ice is of the quality that you need to hold a national competition?
Thank you. That's actually a great question. What they're going to do is the USA Curling is going to bring down their ice making team. They're going to literally tear out the ice on the hockey side, run the water through a deionization and reverse osmosis system, and rebuild the ice back up over on where the Rough Riders play, to make it look like that in the Rough Rider arena for basically a week. And then once the event's over on Saturday night or Sunday morning, they'll melt it down, put the hockey paint back out, and put the glass back up.
Great. Anyone else with any other questions? Doesn't look like we have any, Jim, so I'll turn it back to you.
I have one.
Oh,
I have
here's one.
What's, yeah, is there a clock on this thing, and how long does a game usually last?
At our level, we play 8 games or 8 ends. That takes about 2 hours. There are some games that only go 6 ends, and that's mixed doubles. And that's a different format where each team only has 2 players on it. At the international and national level, they play 10 ends, and that takes 2.5 hours. One of the cultures of the sport is that if you're just getting pasted and there's no way you're going to win the game, it's actually expected that you shake hands and quit. It's kind of a civil courtesy toward the winning team to basically cede that they're a better team and not make them prove it for the next 3 or 4 ends. International and national competition also has a clock. It's pretty complicated. Basically what it does is it times a team when a stone is not moving. Because some stones go like lightning fast, some stones go super slow. The way that clock works is they wait for the stone to stop, then your time starts running, basically to keep you from stalling while you're talking about the next shot. But that clock system usually makes a 10-end game go about 2.5 hours.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Phil. This is really kind of fascinating. Now I hope that you can actually get back into doing it so that we could go and check it out.
Love to have you out.
Great. Again, thanks, Phil. Great job. Thanks, Barb, for running our meeting. And we'll go ahead and adjourn with our 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, the truth, is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Beneficial to all concerned. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
About as useless as anything I can think of. Curling. They're hard up for programs if they start putting accident.
Thanks again, Barbara. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, no problem. I thought it was fascinating. So it's a sport I've always kind of wondered about.
Look forward to seeing you sometime.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Remember, everybody, if you haven't entered your name in the chat box, please do so. You're welcome to do so. Stephanie, it looks like you have a lovely cat there.
He's a handful.
Does he join many of your meetings?
All of them. Yeah. Sometimes he's good about just laying there and not getting involved, but then other times he wants lots of attention.
Right, like right now. He's probably like, where's lunch? Where's lunch? Where's lunch?
Exactly. Exactly. That was awesome. The speaker. So there's a speaker every week then?
There is. So, and any member or anyone can actually recommend a speaker. So we have a program chair whose job is basically to just set up who's going to be the speaker, who's going to do the introduction, what do we title it for when we promote it to everybody. And each week we kind of let people know what the speaker is going to be about, and it really can run the gamut. So, you know, here we have a sports thing. It might be, you know, it could be a Hawkeye sports personality, but we have a lot of programs that might feature, you know, the Community Foundation is doing one soon, for instance, and they're talking about some of their efforts. And I think next week is actually the person who runs the Cedar Rapids Airport. And we'll talk about some of those challenges. I remember he presented probably 2 to 3 years ago, and it was really fascinating. And that's the thing I love about Rotary, is that there's programs that like I would never explore on my own. I wouldn't really know about it, but instead, you know, this has been presented to me, and I'm kind, you know, it's kind of fascinating and interesting. So you learn a lot about the community and all kinds of different programming. So it's kind of nice. And, you know, when we're in person, you get to actually talk face to face with people, but this kind of works. So, you know, it's good. So we hope you can join us. It would be great to have you as a member.
Great. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Well, have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
If you want to come next week, it's actually the exact same Zoom information every week.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I'll try to remember to email you, but if not, you can just kind of, you know, copy that information into your calendar. And you
I think it's all on my calendar still from Christina. I just put her calendar on mine. So I believe it is.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Well, have a great day. And it was nice to meet you virtually. So.
Yeah, it's great meeting you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.